Hey history heroes! I'm Tempest, a public historian and museum interpretation expert, and today we're going to be talking about some of the most bizarre beauty trends and body modifications in history. Are we unconsciously recreating the past? And can radical new experiments shed light on ancient secrets? Let's explore. We know Norse Vikings were all about beauty. They were extremely hygienic, their hair and beards were well maintained, they loved jewelry, and, contrary to popular belief, had a penchant for colorful clothes. As for body modifications, there is a contemporary report from an Arab traveler in the 10th century that describes what is likely tattoos. But within the past few decades, archaeological evidence has emerged of something far stranger and less aesthetically pleasing. Say cheese! Horizontal grooves purposely filed into teeth have been found on numerous bodies in Sweden, Denmark, Russia, and England. And while in the 1990s and early 2000s they were thought to be isolated incidents, more recent discoveries indicate it was not only more widespread than previously thought, but it may have even served different purposes. Some researchers believe the grooves found on teeth on skeletons in Gotland, Sweden, which was a center of trade and commerce, may have indicated the person had a certain status or belonged to a sort of merchant's guild. However, the grooves found on teeth of warriors may have a far more sinister reason. Though grooves themselves are a frightening sight, just imagine that they were filled with colored wax, or even stained with dye. That's currently one of the leading theories for these terrifying teeth. And this theory has been featured on The Northman and my favorite show, The Last Kingdom. Do you hate breaking a nail? Do you love bling and bragging about your wealth? Introducing Chinese nail guards. Ming and Qing dynasty noblewomen wanted to prove that they were too wealthy to work, so they grew out their fingernails to prove that they didn't even have to lift a finger. The ring and pinky nails were often grown out longer than the others, enabling the wearer to still perform daily activities without being too encumbered. But even one wrong move could break a nail, so nail guards were used to protect their dainty digits, as well as showcase their wealth even more. That's because nail guards could range from fairly simple silver designs to intricate gold designs inlaid with precious gems, jade, and enamel. As for their length, depending on how humble the wearer is, the guards could range from 1 to 6 inches and were open in the back to provide stability and help shape the growing nail. The practice fell out of favor in the 20th century, but are still occasionally worn as a fashion statement and are featured on many C-dramas. Most people are familiar with Ötzi the Iceman, the 5,200-year-old mummy that was discovered in 1991 in an alpine glacier. He is one of the most well-preserved mummies in the world, though he would have been even more well-preserved had people not completely trashed his clothing and allowed fungus to consume his body for days after his discovery while scientists sat around twiddling their thumbs. Despite this, we have been able to piece together some of his fashion choices, as well as his Copper Age beauty trend. 61 tattoos divided into 19 groups. And they're not just any tattoos. They're the oldest tattoos in the world. For decades, people just assumed that Ötzi's skin was cut and charcoals rubbed into the wounds. Until in 2024, when a team of researchers revealed they had performed some of the most radical experimental archaeology in the world. Ancient tattooing on modern humans for the sake of science. Under the guidance of researchers, 2 tattoo artists specializing in traditional methods used 8 tools and 4 techniques to create 8 identical tattoos. The tattoos were then studied after 6 months of healing and compared under a microscope to Ötzi's. The result? Ötzi's tattoos were not sliced, but hand-poked, using a bone or copper point, which adds more weight to a groundbreaking theory. For several decades, many assumed that Ötzi's tattoos were simply just a mishmash of geometric shapes, until further study revealed Ötzi suffered from a number of health ailments, as shown in this photo, though the most prominent were his abdominal, spine, and joint issues. And in 2018, researchers revealed an astonishing find. 𝐓𝐢𝐩𝐬𝐬's tattoos weren't decorative. They were medicinal. According to their published findings, 9 out of the 19 groups are close to or exactly on a traditional acupuncture point. 2 groups of lines are located on acupuncture meridians, and the remaining tattoos were either placed directly on top of an arthritic joint or slightly further from a meridian. And many of these points and meridians are responsible for treating abdominal and back issues. This greatly predates Chinese acupuncture, and given the sophistication of his tattoos, this was likely already an established form of treatment in 𝐓𝐲𝐬's society. So if you're struggling with health issues, maybe you should consider getting matching tattoos with your favorite Iceman. What do modern teenagers and 16th century European nobles have in common? They love cute cover-ups, though their reasons are slightly different. Modern acne patches come in cute and colorful shapes that help hide and protect pimples. In the 16th century, nobles also had cute and colorful shapes on their face, usually to hide smallpox scars and syphilis sores. Though there are references to medicinal patches that were said to soothe migraines and other ailments, as shown in this portrait from around 1620. Made out of silk or velvet, these patches soon became trendy even among nobles who had nothing to hide. So trendy, in fact, a bill was put forth in Parliament in 1649 potentially banning beauty patches. It failed, but the patches were still widely mocked, as shown in this painting from the 1650s where 2 women overdo it with the patches, and an inscription calls them evil and prideful. But they remained fashionable and took on a life of their own in the 18th century in Queen Anne's court, when the placement of certain patches in Queen Anne's court signified the political leanings of the wearer. Additionally, patches were used to both hide and highlight battle scars, like this lieutenant general in 1770. They fell out of favor by the 19th century, but history repeats itself, and they're back in traditional and not so traditional shapes and colors. It's often said that perfume is meant to be subtle, a gentle waft, dabbed onto your pulse points. Ancient Egyptians had a slightly different view, because what's more subtle than a scented beeswax cone on top of your head, melting due to the heat on your head and body like a sweaty human candle? For over 1,000 years, scrolls, coffins, and wall paintings depicted people wearing them at feasts, rituals, during childbirth, while playing music, and while worshipping. Though archaeologists could only guess what they were and how they functioned, they began to think that the cones were just an artistic depiction, similar to halos in Christian art, until 2019, when archaeologists announced they had found the first physical evidence of head cones. 2 burials dating from 3,300 years ago had head cones accompanying them, though surprisingly, they weren't solid beeswax. Instead, they had a fabric core. One was a woman and one was unidentified, but both had modest burials and suffered spinal fractures, and one sadly had a degenerative joint disease. One theory is that they were dancers that served the gods, which would explain their injuries and why they had these cones when the rest of their burials were very modest. Archaeologists are optimistic that more burials will be unearthed with head cones, but in the meantime, I'd love to see some experimental archaeology regarding these cones. Maybe the ancient Egyptians were onto something. Are there any bizarre beauty trends you think future historians will look back on? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay curious, history heroes.